Watching This Is Now. We begin with this at noon. Universities across the country are calling in police more and more to clear out pro-Palestinian encampments, but the demonstrators say they will continue to protest the war between Israel and Hamas. Meanwhile, there will be a demonstration starting in Hawaii today. Willie James Inman has more details from Washington, D.C.
Peaceful protesters inside, don't do it!
New York City police moved in on the campuses of the City University of New York, NYU, and the New School in Manhattan Friday morning, clearing out protest campsites and arresting dozens of demonstrators.
I arrived around 7:45 to see police with riot gear standing in front of this building. Then I walked down the block and there were buses and hundreds of police.
This follows an incident earlier this week where a New York City officer's gun accidentally discharged while clearing out protesters at Columbia University.
In this case, the bullet landed on the floor of the office and didn't travel anywhere else, so it was apparent that it had struck no one.
Tensions have been high at times as police moved out protesters on campuses across the country. This is what it looked like at UCLA as police moved in early Thursday morning. And this is what it looks like now. The encampments are gone, but the protests will likely continue.
I think that police uphold the system of oppression, and obviously it's not right. They're just upholding the status quo. So we need to resist, and we need to keep protesting.
At the George Washington University in Washington, D.C., these students say they will stay until they are forced to move out. Are you concerned for your safety if police are called in?
Absolutely. It's a scary thing to see. I have friends at Columbia. It's terrifying to see what's happening in a country that claims to value free speech.
Administrators say they are trying to ensure the safety of their campuses, especially as graduation ceremonies are set to begin. Willie James Inman, CBS News, Washington.
Here at home, the students and faculty for justice in Palestine at UH Manoa are holding a day of action today. The group tells us that the event will begin a campaign demanding that UH separate itself from Israeli-linked corporations and to call for a ceasefire in Gaza. The event will start at 1 p.m. on Josh Wise Field. Red Hill families and their supporters are protesting the promotion of Admiral Samuel Paparo. According to a 2023 Civil Beat investigation, the attorneys for families affected by the tainted water crisis argued that Admiral Paparo was a key player in failing to warn residents that the water was unsafe. That change of command ceremony was held this morning on board Joint Base Pearl Harbor Hicks. Lahaina fire survivors fighting for housing are packing up after camping out at Ka'anapali Beach for nearly 6 months. This comes as Maui County Mayor Richard Bisson says he is moving forward with plans to phase out vacation rentals operating in the apartment districts, also known as the Minatoia List. It's a total of 7,000 units, 2,200 of which are in West Maui. The Minatoia List makes up more than half of all units island-wide. If the bill is passed, vacation rentals on the list would phase out in West Maui by July 1st of next year. All other units on the list will have to stop short-term rentals by January 1st of 2026. Mayor Bisson says he expects lawsuits and backlash from vacation rental owners, but says the benefits of the bill far outweigh the repercussions. In addition, Governor Green signed an emergency measure to provide nearly $400 million for Maui Relief. That includes housing for fire survivors and the One Ohana Fund for people who lost loved ones or suffered injury. Green congratulated lawmakers for passing the aid to Maui and for the huge income tax cut for all residents, but he says he may have to call lawmakers back. He says HECO needs to borrow money to keep it financially stable and that property insurers may pull out of the state because of potential disasters. He wants a climate fee on tourists to help HECO and establish a state fund to protect homeowners who lose their insurance.
Without that, and having suffered a disaster of this magnitude, we could be behind all the other markets in the country and pay the worst rates, pay the highest premiums.
The governor named retired Alexander and Baldwin CEO Chris Benjamin to head a climate advisory team to help analyze what needs to be done to deal with the risk of more disasters. Meanwhile, May is known as Wildfire Awareness Month, and Mayor Rick Blangiardi is holding a press conference right now at Honolulu Hale to highlight the importance of preventing and preparing for wildfires. Joining the mayor are emergency preparedness experts to talk about a national initiative to reduce wildfire risks. We'll have highlights from the press conference on later editions of Hawaii News Now. Legal issues have complicated the removal of the Stairway to Heaven. Hawaii News Now has learned the city has voluntarily agreed to not physically remove any of the stair modules until the conclusion of a hearing that's taking place on May 10th. The city says the project to remove the Ha'iku stairs has not been halted, and the work preparing the stair modules for removal is ongoing. The city expects to move forward with the removal as planned after the hearing. The convicted criminal known as the Manoa Rapist is now out of prison after serving more than 40 years behind bars. John Freudenberg was 23 years old in 1982 when he pleaded guilty to brutally attacking 15 women in his Manoa neighborhood. He was sentenced to life with the possibility of parole. Freudenberg, who's now in his 60s, was repeatedly denied parole until last year. He was released yesterday to live in a halfway house. One of his victims from the 80s told us he belongs back in prison.
I believe that with him now being granted parole, that he at some point eventually will be predatory in his neighborhood, wherever he's going to be living, and that there's a risk to public safety for our communities in Hawaii.
Everywhere he goes, everywhere he's been over these last 40 years, he's been at the bottom of the social scale. Yet he's managed to maneuver that, to navigate that, and to still present himself so that today he's now eligible for parole.
Freudenberg will be under the highest level of supervision at his Kalihi halfway house. That includes wearing an ankle monitor and following a curfew. More troubling complaints against Kauai's police chief. 1 month after Todd Raybuck lost his loaded service weapon, the two officers who found the gun and turned it into evidence are formally accusing the chief of retaliation. H&N Investigates' Allison Blair has the exclusive story.
The complaints allege Chief Todd Raybuck's actions not only compromised these two officers' careers, but also jeopardized the safety of people the department is sworn to protect.
You have the most powerful person in the police department. He did something wrong, and now he is punishing the employees who just did their job.
Two Kauai detectives filed these formal complaints claiming to be targets of retaliation after inadvertently getting tangled up in an investigation centered around the chief losing his gun. On Friday, the police commission voted to assign the case to a county investigator. This after Raybuck left his loaded Glock wedged between the wall and a handicap assist bar inside the KPD restroom the union says is accessible to the public. SHOPO spokesperson Dustin DeRollo.
One found a firearm that was left unattended and turned it in. The other person is the person who received that firearm, had it booked into evidence as is required. Now they're saying that they're being retaliated against. That their personal careers are being compromised because they did the right thing.
According to the complaint, one of the detectives, who serves as a crisis negotiator, recently submitted a training request to attend a conference essential to obtaining his recertification. That request was denied, citing manpower shortages. Meanwhile, the other detective, who serves on the department's 2-member bomb squad, was denied fireworks training for the same reason. The document goes on to say, after checking with my chain of command, there was no manpower shortages that would affect operations. So the detective appealed.
And was told by the chief's office that he can choose to either do the fireworks training or to do another training. That one happened to be a requirement for being a member of the bomb squad.
Without that certification, the union says he couldn't do his job. The complaint goes on to list more than a dozen other officers who got the go-ahead to attend off-island and out-of-state training courses. H&N Investigates asked the chief to respond to these allegations in an on-camera interview. In a statement, a spokesperson told us Raybuck recently attended a work conference and is currently out of the office. He's expected to return the week of May 12th. The email went on to say, as Chief Raybuck has not been provided copies of the complaints, he is not able to comment on the contents. However, he stated that allegations of retaliation against any KPD employee are categorically false. As the investigation into the chief's lost gun begins and the retaliation complaints are reviewed, the union says all eyes are on the police commission.
The one thing we do know is that there is zero dispute as to whether or not he broke department policy by leaving his loaded firearm in a restroom. And they want to see if they're going to hold the highest member of the police department accountable, just like they would any other employee.
No word on how long the police commission's investigation into the chief's lost gun might take. If it is determined disciplinary action is needed, DeRollo says Raybuck could face anything from a suspension to termination. Allison Blair, Hawaii News Now.
On Kauai, St. Catherine's School in Kapa'a announced on Thursday it will close for good next month after 78 years. School leaders say they made tireless efforts to sustain its mission.
Last year, we had 89 enrolled with the promising of having 90, but during the summer, we lost over half the enrollment. So with that drastic cut, we were forced to let go our extracurricular courses. However, in the classroom, it didn't suffer. We were able to still keep our teachers with the combined classes that we already had.
This weekend is the St. Catherine's Popular Carnival. While the school is closing, the church hopes to continue the event in some form. Wrapping up the second week of testimony, former White House Communications Director and longtime Trump advisor Hope Hicks took the stand in the former president's hush money trial in New York. Now, Hicks was by the president's side leading up to and after the election, and she's considered a key witness for the prosecution. Alice Barr has more.
A one-time senior aide and confidant to former President Trump, Hope Hicks, taking the stand today and offering an inside view of the Trump campaign at a critical time before the 2016 election. Hicks testified Mr. Trump was a hands-on boss and that throughout the campaign, quote, we were all just following his lead. Prosecutors drilling down on the infamous Access Hollywood tape that Hicks testified Mr. Trump initially downplayed as locker room banter, but that she, a campaign and ultimately White House communications director, recognized as a crisis.
Clearly, she knew the explosion that tape caused because she was the one who had to deal with that blowback.
The prosecution argues fallout from the tape's release set the stage for a coordinated effort to suppress negative news stories, including alleged affairs with former Playboy model Karen McDougal and former adult film star Stormy Daniels, to deprive voters of critical information and influence the election. Mr. Trump is charged with falsifying business records to cover up an alleged hush money payment to Daniels. He denies the affairs and all wrongdoing.
Everything was legal.
The defense has cast the prosecution's central witness, former Trump attorney Michael Cohen, as a scorned ex-employee with an axe to grind. Hicks doesn't fit that mold, appearing under subpoena, admitting she's nervous to testify and complimenting her former boss's work ethic. Prosecutors hope she'll help connect the dots for the jury.
Today's testimony wraps up a week in which prosecutors presented documents, records, and text messages yesterday. The jury heard a recording of former President Trump and Michael Cohen discussing a payoff for Karen McDougal over her claims of an affair. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
Here's a live look outside with our tower cam. 79 degrees here in Honolulu. What's in store for the weekend? We'll have more after this quick break.
How's it on this Aloha Friday? Breezy trains will pick up speed today and run pretty breezy and brisk all the way into the early part of next week. And that means we'll have more of these upstream clouds embedded with showers move through from time to time. We'll see most of the rainfall in the overnight and early morning hours. But even for the middle part of the day, we'll see the occasional stray shower move through, so don't be surprised by that. But the thing is, whatever rain comes in will be moving out very quickly, and that's because of these brisk and breezy winds. And that also means good air quality, comfortable humidity levels. And again, we'll see some rainbows from time to time, so that's the nice part. But again, it will be a little damp this morning, mainly for a handful of windward spots, drier by lunchtime. But again, there will be stray showers throughout the day, moving through very quickly, and those winds running 15 to 25 today and for the next several days. Now, out in the ocean, we're expecting a small pulse moving in today for north shores and another one over the weekend, but nothing near advisory levels. Box jellyfish still swimming into south shores, and the east shores will be rough and choppy with some head-high sets with some pluses over the next several days. So those breezy winds, well, they'll be here for a while into the early part of next week, and we're telling you that we're going to see even more windward and Mauka showers over the weekend into Monday. And then on Monday, there's another disturbance expected to move through. We could even see some spots of heavy rain on Monday, easing up and drying up on Tuesday.
Hey everyone, happy Aloha Friday. Davis and Kyle in the Digital Center with your weekly sports update. Kyle, NFL draft just happened. We got 3 Hawaii-born players in the NFL now, 2 going in the 3rd round.
Yep, up first we have Roman Wilson going to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pretty good pickup. You know, he joins a couple of other St. Louis guys, his former teammate with the Crusaders, and Nick Herbig, and then older brother Nate Herbig on the Steelers. So shout out to him, the first local boy off the board. And after that, just 3 picks later, we have Dallas Cowboys selecting Maris Leofau, the Notre Dame linebacker, formerly of Punahou School, with the 87th pick. And then in the 6th round, we had Darius Muasau, the former UH and UCLA linebacker, going to the New York Giants. The Mililani alum is now heading to the Big Apple. And then another guy, Davis, that had a local tie, former UH edge rusher Jonah Laulu. He got picked in the 7th round by the Indianapolis Colts. And the Hawaii connection doesn't stop there, dude.
Oh, does it, Kyle?
No, because he's joining a defensive unit that features DeForest Buckner, the former Oregon and Punahou defensive lineman. So a pretty great group for him to learn under.
Roman Wilson, we talked about him before, dynamic receiver with Michigan. He had a big touchdown against Alabama, which got him the national championship. We kind of predicted that he was going to be going first out of the Hawaii guys, a stellar receiver. Once again, this draft class, I mean, really, really good for Hawaii.
Yeah, I think last year we only had 2 guys taken in the draft. So just to see 3, including Jonah, who makes the 4th with a Hawaii tie, that's a pretty big and a pretty successful year for Hawaii.
Yeah, super exciting for these guys. Wish them the best of luck. They had very successful careers. And talking about success from Hawaii, we got to talk about the UH beach volleyball team. Unfortunately, today they did lose to LMU. But these guys had such a crazy, successful season. They were Big West champions. Got to give them a lot of props, but they were so close today.
Yeah, you know, it was a good, strong outing. The Loyola Marymount team, they faced them earlier in the year. LMU's kind of had their number all season. But yeah, strong season from the Beach Bows. Multiple pairs in the Big West all conference teams. Head coach Evan Silverstein is the co-coach of the year for the Big West. And then we have an All-American second team pair in Jamie Santer and Alana Embry. So, you know, a lot of success. Unfortunately, their run came to an end this year, this morning actually, over in Gulf Shores, Alabama. But again, all things considered, success this year.
Very successful. Future is bright for this team and all these programs. Make sure to stay tuned for the latest of our sports reports. Stay tuned for Kyle tonight, and also catch all of our podcasts and episodes of H&N Overtime, the Hawaii News Now sports podcasts. For Kyle and I, happy Aloha Friday.
Since reusable water bottles often only carry just water, the urge to clean them may not be as strong. But with summer temperatures and more reasons to hydrate, doctors are advising you to clean up your act. Karen Keva has more on the consequences of a dirty water bottle and how to avoid them.
Whether it's for hydration or fashion or a little bit of both, you see people of all ages walking around with their water tumblers right now, and you might think that you just put water in there. So the idea of icky things building up may not be as obvious as it is on, say, your dinner dishes. But experts say, no, it really is there, and what you don't see can actually make you sick. As the temperatures climb, so can the amount of water it takes to stay hydrated. But before you step out with your reusable water bottle, maybe give it some TLC.
And we want people to stay hydrated, but we don't want them to do that at the risk of getting harm or getting an infection, which is what can happen if you're really not taking care of your water bottle.
Dr. Marianne Sumego with Cleveland Clinic says the inside of reusable bottles, whether plastic, glass, or stainless steel, are moist environments where bacteria loves to grow, especially under moving parts.
You're not getting in there with a bristle brush or really trying to get those mechanisms clean, you're going to leave that bacteria behind. And so, again, it's just another opportunity for things to kind of get out of control and grow.
That's not just really icky, it could also make you sick. Potential consequences include gastrointestinal issues and allergy symptoms.
If you've got mold allergies, you might be getting sniffles because that mold is going to grow over time. Absolutely loves a moist environment. And so you may have this unexplained constant sniffles, itchy nose, sneezing all the time.
Dr. Sumego says to give a water bottle a scrub with soap and water after each use, and don't forget to clean tops and straws. Ideally, throw the bottle in the dishwasher to get surfaces exposed to water pressure, both inside and out. And Dr. Sumego says you actually do have to scrub and dry that water bottle. Don't just swish clean water around inside of it, or else you're actually creating a better breeding ground for that bacteria and mold. The same rules apply to your reusable coffee cup, kids' sippy cups as well. In Washington, I'm Karen Kafa.
Well, it's the first Friday of the month, and that means a busy and eventful evening in Chinatown. Downtown businesses, galleries, and entertainers are hoping for a busy summer. Casey Lund went to check it out.
At First Friday, we haven't been down here in a while, checking on all the things that make Chinatown so special. Arts, culture, all the businesses down here. And this might be the time to come back if you haven't been to a First Friday in a while. Johnny Marquez Freire is with us. He is the curator of the Menini Gallery here at the Hawaii Theater. This is truly a really special place here in Chinatown. Tell us a little bit about what this represents for artists and people that want to celebrate arts and culture here downtown.
Absolutely. So we're very honored to be immersed in this partnership with Hawaii Theater Center. This is, of course, the historic 100-year-old building on the corner of Bethel and Pauahi. So the fact that we have a space like this where we can kind of harken back to the historic days of Hawaii while also pushing forward the new, young, contemporary artists and great established artists such as Solomon himself.
Yeah, we want to mention Solomon Enos. This is his work, and we might actually take a quick walk, if you don't mind, Johnny. We'll show some of this. We featured Solomon a few different times on Hawaii News Now. Really talented. And I want you actually, if you could, tell us when people can come check things out, other than, of course, tonight, First Friday, because this is art that should be celebrated.
Yeah, of course. Right now, our gallery hours are more focused on Saturday, Sunday. So 12 to 4 p.m., you can come stop by. You can meet one of our lovely gallery attendants and kind of celebrate the artwork here, and they can even point you to the other fantastic galleries in town. A lot of great activity happening, especially post-pandemic, that we're very happy to see.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you a little bit about that. How have things been? Like I mentioned at the beginning of this, we haven't been down here talking about First Friday in a while, so I wanted to come check in, see how things are going. Have things picked up? Are people coming back for First Fridays? And I guess what's the general vibe here in Chinatown on First Fridays?
Yeah, I think really the pandemic showed us that we're all banding together. You know, all the art galleries, all the creative spaces are all kind of working together to bring back that lush, flourished population here in Chinatown. So places like Capitol Modern, they have their dance night tonight. Solomon will be there dancing later tonight. We have great art openings all throughout town at Mark's Garage, Kaiao Space, Downtown Art Center. So really a beautiful, vibrant art scene is once again emerging, and we're just so excited to see that.
Welcoming people back down here, so much to celebrate here in Chinatown. Johnny, thank you so much. And by the way, Solomon Enos, the artist here in this gallery being featured, he has an artist talk happening at 6 p.m. tonight. We'll have all the details online at hawaiinewsnow.com. For now, we'll send things back into the studio.